Welcome back to Between the Lines, episode 4. We're back with some NBA and NFL talk for you guys. Going to start out with the NFL, and we're just going to have some fun, play some mini games like last time. Going to start with a blind ranking, and we're going to go with dual threat quarterbacks. So, pretty much, I'm just going to give you 7 quarterbacks one by one, and just rank them based on how good of a dual threat you are. Does that sound good, Jay?
All right, sounds good. Let's run it.
All right, and they're all going to be active starters, no old heads, no backups, nothing like that. So, your first guy is going to be Caleb Williams.
Caleb. All right. I'm gonna let my Packer bias not affect it here. Let's go number three. I think he's so solid. We'll give him number three.
Okay, 3 for Caleb. Next up, Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. It's got to be one or two. Let's hope you're not giving me Lamar. So I'm gonna put Josh at one.
Okay, Josh at 1. Let's give you another fast guy, Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels. All right. The question is, him and Caleb are around the same.
Hmm.
Is there gonna be someone between? You know what? Same draft class. We'll put them right next to each other. We'll put Jaden at four.
Okay, sounds good. Got back-to-back picks next to each other there. So we've had 3 fast guys. Let's take it back a notch with Matthew Stafford, current day.
Matthew Stafford. Even in your prime, buddy, you're not gonna be high up on this list, but we're gonna put you at the bottom, number seven.
Okay, we got 3 guys left. Baker Mayfield next up.
Baker. I say he's a solid five. He's like right behind there. He's got some wheels. He's got some wheels. We'll put him at five.
Okay, feels fair for Baker there. So 2 guys left. Just to reiterate, you got Caleb at 3, Jane Daniels at 4, Josh Allen at 1, Matthew Stafford at 7, and Baker at 5.
Mm-hmm.
So next up, we're gonna go Lamar Jackson.
Ah, all right, I gotta put him at two, but I definitely would have him over Josh. But for now, I'll put him at two.
Okay. And so last up, that number 6 spot, it's gonna be going to your boy Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, all right. You know what? I'll take it honestly, because if maybe like every now and then, like A-Rod still got that scramble left in him, like that
Mhm.
that
He
5 yard
does.
scramble every now and then, a little more than Stafford.
Yeah. I mean, I think you, so overall, just your ranking, you got Josh Allen at 1, Lamar at 2, Caleb at 3, Jaden at 4, Baker at 5, uh, A-Rod at 6, and Stafford at 7. I mean, I think you did a pretty good job. Pretty much like the only arguable ones would be Allen or Lamar, Stafford and A-Rod. But either way, it's like the extremes of the list. So overall, I think you did pretty good job there.
Yeah, I think overall I like what I got.
Okay, so now we're gonna do a draft, just like last week, and we're gonna draft the your favorite jerseys in the NFL right now. And you can pick like a specific one. So it doesn't have to be like all the Packers jerseys. It can be like one of them, maybe like their like color, whatever. Anything you want. And you can have the 101 if you want.
All right, I'll take the first pick. Uh, I think. Trying to see which one I want to go with. All right, for now, I'm gonna go. We'll go a little bit biased to my team, but I'm gonna go right now with our Packers all white jersey, our clean all white jersey with the helmet and everything. So the winter warning jerseys. I like those ones. We just added them this year, and we actually like wore them a good amount of times, like on the road and at home too. And I think it looks good, so I'm gonna take that with my first pick.
All right, respectable first overall there. The whiteout can't go wrong with that. So then I'm gonna have this next 2 picks, then we're gonna go back to alternating 1-1.
All right.
So I'm gonna go with one of my favorite jerseys just to look at, the creamsicles by the Buccaneers. I feel like kind of feels like almost like a college jersey in a way, which could be
Mhm.
cool, but just like that vibrant colorway fits the team's vibe and everything. And then my next pick, it's a tough one. Oh, the Titans brought it back this year. They had their
Mhm.
like Oilers throwback, like the baby blue. That was really clean. They did a nice job with like changing up the helmets too. So I'll go creamsicle and Oiler throwbacks there.
All right. Um, so I'm gonna take with my next one. I'm gonna take the Seahawks throwback jersey
Ooh.
with that like the metallic silver and everything and the old colors there. I'm gonna take that Seahawks throwback jersey. I really like that one.
Yeah, that one's clean. That's a good one. Okay, next up here. I'm gonna take the Kelly greens. I feel like
Hmm.
Eagles did a nice job changing up the shade of green there, and just looks
That's a
nice.
good
And
one.
especially any of those like bad weather games, they look pretty clean.
Yeah.
So you're up next if you want.
All right. I'm trying to think like which regular like jerseys do I rock with the most
Yeah, it doesn't
besides
have
all
to
the
be
like
like an alternate. It
cool.
could just be a regular
Yeah.
one. True.
Mm, I'm not sure if they still are, if that's still their alternate or not. I know it was as of like 1 or 2 seasons ago, but that Chargers all navy blue jersey, I really
Mm.
like that one. They worn that at home a couple times. I'm not sure if they got rid of it for this season. I know they had it like until last season, I'm pretty sure. But I'm gonna go with that Chargers all navy blue one.
Yeah, I feel like the Chargers in general, you can't go wrong with like any of their jerseys there. They do
Yeah.
a good job. Okay, so I got one more, and then you got the last pick of the draft after.
Yep.
Between two, I don't want to say them out loud, but hmm. Okay. I guess I could say because I wanted to take the whiteout Bengals, but I feel like you already got the whiteout. I don't want
Yeah.
to take another one. I'm just gonna go with the Patriots throwback this year, like the red jersey. That was pretty clean. They wore it on prime time versus the Giants. That was a nice look for them.
Yeah.
So I guess that rounds out my draft.
All right. So last pick, round out the draft. What am I gonna take? All right, I'm gonna take one pick. It's the most iconic jersey, I'd say. Maybe iconic because we all make fun of it a lot, but it is undeniable that Dallas Cowboys, that single star on the helmet, that is iconic jersey. American football defined by that jersey. So I'm gonna take the Dallas Cowboys jersey.
Yeah, that's a good one there. But let us know if you think had the better draft. We'll put them on the screen here for you. But yeah, I think we did a pretty solid job overall.
All right, so for our NBA topic today, we're coming up on the playoffs and specifically the play-in. We got about a week until the play-in starts. So we are going to be looking at some of the scariest playoff teams that we see in the field this year. So we're taking our top 6 teams in each conference, right? So seeds 1 through 6 in both the East and Western Conference. And we're going to go through a draft with them. We're just going to alternate our picks back and forth. And we're going to draft who we think is the scariest team from each of these conferences and from this pool in general. So, Nitish, why don't you you can have the first pick and you tell me who you think the scariest team is out of these top 6 seeds in each conference.
Okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab the OKC Thunder. Feel like bit of a unanimous 101 there, playing with probably the back-to-back MVP on the team. Uh, looking like they haven't lost a set from last year, getting healthier as the playoffs come. Definitely don't want to see them. So I'll take them with my first pick.
Yeah, and I think we saw that playoff that playoff caliber like reignited against the Lakers in that one game.
Yeah.
So we saw like how deadly they can be when they turn it on for a game or so. So like that was definitely a reminder of how scary they are.
Hmm.
For my first pick, I'm gonna take um, I'm gonna take the Celtics actually. I'm gonna take the Celtics my first pick. So we're talking about like scariest team for going into the playoffs for these potential 4 rounds, going from the first round to the finals. And I feel like you have to take a look at the Celtics because you've seen over the last couple of games Jason Tatum sort of regaining that form. He's not going to be all the way, obviously, all the way back to 100% how he was before, like last season, or at last season before the injury, but he's still working his way back. And Jaylen Brown's obviously taking a step up, obviously being in the MVP conversation. So I'm going to take the Celtics. They're putting together a really scary team before he got back, and now he's healthy and being more integrated into the team in Tatum. And that just makes him really scary for any potential playoff matchups this season. So, what's your next pick going to be?
And yeah, I feel like also for the Celtics, probably out of all the teams in the league right now, they probably have the most experience in deep
Yeah,
runs in the playoffs.
yeah, that's
Jason Tatum's been to like so many conference finals, so that's a good pick there. I thought they might fall, so I was looking forward to grabbing them, but I guess you had other plans. I'm gonna go ahead with the next pick, and I'm gonna take the Denver Nuggets. I was between them and another team, but I'm gonna take the Nuggets just because I feel like they're full of like a bunch of playoff risers once the playoffs hit. Like Jamal Murray's already having career year, gonna probably make All NBA, got his first All-Star nod, and still, given his success this year, he still always finds a way to rise in the playoffs. Seen him do it against my Lakers time and time again. So I'm definitely familiar with it. But yeah, and they're also starting. Hopefully, they'll get Peyton Watson back before the playoffs. Aaron Gordon just came back a couple weeks ago, so he's still getting some reps in. So I feel like this team, by playoff time in a couple weeks, they could be fully healthy and really scary to go against. With Jokic and Murray and the crew.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that pick. And we saw that's going to lead right into my next pick because we just saw yesterday an absolute clash of MVP candidates, MVP Titans, insane battle between the Nuggets and the Spurs yesterday on that Saturday afternoon game. And that's going to lead me right into my next pick. So I'm going to take the San Antonio Spurs for the fourth pick overall in our scariest draft. We saw like the potential of obviously we've seen the Spurs over the last couple weeks or so. They've only lost these three games. But two of them have been to the Nuggets, one with Wemby, one without. But the Spurs, they were up roughly like 7 to like 10 points, like most of the game, like from almost tip off for like the first quarter all the way until like it got really close in crunch time. And then we saw Jokic and the Nuggets just like walk them down and like score all those buckets. And we saw a lot of that like kind of playoff experience start to show. And we see, all right, maybe the Spurs, a little bit of a young team, starting a lot of young guys like Harper, Castle, even Fox, who's had some playoff battles with the Kings when they went against the Warriors that one year. He still struggled a little bit down the clutch, had his couple defensive mistakes, especially on the one bucket in overtime where Jokic ended up scoring to put the game out of reach. He made a defensive mistake there. So just seeing like some of the young guys, is that going to come back to bite them in the playoffs, not having enough experience? Or is that something they could power through just based on like the strength of having an absolute 7'5" alien just anchoring their defense and their offense and everything? So they're gonna be my next pick for the scariest playoff team.
Okay, so with the fifth pick in the entire draft here, I'm going to draft the Minnesota Timberwolves. I feel like similar to my last pick, they're just full of a bunch of playoff risers. We see Ant every year, kind of, he's been to two conference finals already, so he knows how to go deep in the playoffs. And obviously, he's had a bit of concern this year with the knee injury. So even though he's returned, hasn't been like the most efficient scorer, but I'm assuming he'll be healthier come playoff time. The Timberwolves are pretty much locked into that six seed. They could go up a little, but they're definitely not going to fall into the play-in. So this is all Julius Randle. He's been criticized as like a flopper in the playoffs, not really playing well, but he's kind of played better. Last year, he played better in the playoffs compared to previous years. So I feel like they're definitely not a team you want to face.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I was definitely looking at those guys as a potential sleeper for my
Mhm.
draft, so I definitely agree with that pick.
Okay.
Uh, taking a look at the standings here. Mm, I think I'm gonna go back to the Eastern Conference. I'm gonna take the New York Knicks with my pick. So it's the sixth pick in our draft. I mean, the Knicks, like overall, the season has been like pretty good. They're roughly in the same spot they were last year in terms of the standings and everything. Um, and still like sort of a similar record under Mike Brown after obviously firing Tom Thibodeau in the offseason. But the expectation for them is to be getting past the conference finals into the finals. That's what they expected when they changed their coach. You obviously want to improve on that. But I mean, I don't know if anyone really expects them to do that, but you can still see the ceiling, the potential ceiling of doing that. You still have a, a superstar, I think a superstar player in Jalen Brunson, a really good secondary star in Karl Anthony Towns. So on offense, they're obviously going to be always cooking. They have a lot of good supporting role players and everything like that. Their starting five also really good, and they have enough good players on defense that are sort of making up for the fact that their two best players happen to be um, absolute turnstiles on defense, to put it nicely. So like they have enough role players that are somewhat making up for that. But when you get to the playoffs and like a team is focusing on you for 5 to 6 or even a 7 game series every single day, like matching up with you back and forth, they're gonna start to see things and notice things, and they can sort of work their way around like and find out how to use those like potential defensive shortcomings to help them. So obviously, I think that's probably gonna hinder them as they go through a long playoff run. But you never know, especially if Jalen Brunson, if he unlocks even another level that we see from him, they could potentially be a really scary playoff team. So they're gonna be my next pick.
Okay, so halfway done with the draft here. Um, with the seventh pick, kind of conflicted here. I guess now we're at the point where we're not really at the contenders, but we still got to think about who's scary to face in maybe
Yeah.
one round. I'm gonna go with the Houston Rockets. I haven't been the biggest fan of them this year. We've already talked about it in previous episodes, but I just feel like they have personnel wise enough players to maybe compete to at least make it to the second round.
Hmm.
I mean, especially as things are looking right now, where they could face the Lakers in the first round and get a win there. But I mean, they have Kevin Durant who's playing well. Alperen Şengün, he's had his ups and downs, but if he can get things going for the playoffs, they have a good defense, like anchor in Amen Thompson. Good coaching by Udoka. I feel like they could ultimately, if they figure things out, be scary to go against. But yeah, just like at this point in the draft, I don't really know who else to take aside
Yeah.
from them.
You're kind of just like at this point we're just like taking like shots in the dark on like, but you never know, like a legendary player, like could he have one more playoff run or something like that. All right,
Yeah.
for my next pick, um, I think I'm gonna go a little bit further down in the Eastern Conference. This team has no track record of doing anything remotely scary in the playoffs the last couple of years, but I'm gonna take the Philadelphia 76ers. So maybe I'm falling for the bait again every single year with this team and just like choking down the stretch and choking in the playoffs like they do every single year. Obviously, Embiid not even reaching the conference finals yet, but they seem to be putting everything together now, right? They just had a win on Friday against the Minnesota Timberwolves at home, against a fully healthy Minnesota Timberwolves, and obviously just coming back from an injury, so maybe slightly rusty, but they still played really well on defense. They were able to like limit him on most of his shots and everything like that, and they were able to limit the rest of the team too. Um, they were down a little bit in the first and then making a big comeback in the second to win that. But just you see that Paul George, even though he had the suspension for the long time because of the performance enhancing drug issue, that wasn't necessarily something where he was kept off the court because of an injury. So he was still able to maintain his conditioning, things like that. And you were able to see that when they just played on Friday. He was still like playing really well. He put in a lot of his typical like mid-range buckets and everything like that. Embiid still playing pretty well. There's obviously always the risk with him with the injury. But Tyrese Maxey looks like he's taking that step up to like a potential like star slash superstar like range. And then obviously they have a lot of the young talent, especially with VJ Edgecombe and things like that. So we'll see what they do in the playoffs. I mean, right now they're barely in this pool for the draft to begin with because they're tied with the Raptors for that sixth seed or the seventh seed. So just they could drop to the play-in for all we know in the next couple games, but we'll see if they can maintain their position for now. And I'm going to take them for my next scariest team.
Yeah, I wanted the Sixers so bad
Yeah.
just because I mean they dropped like 150 the other night. They have a
Mhm.
pretty high powered offense, not always the most consistent, but I mean Maxi's averaging almost 30. Embiid when he does play is averaging like around 25, 26. So definitely a scary team if they can stay consistent. I'm gonna go with my fourth pick here, or sorry, my fifth pick on my team.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna go for the value pick. I know they have some, with their star being injured, a lot of questions. I'm just gonna take the Pistons.
Mhm.
I think they've done a pretty decent job, even without Cade, kind of still maintaining the one seed. I think they're like 8-2 in their last 10 games, something like that.
Mhm.
And so obviously, with Cade Cunningham out with like that pneumothorax, it's kind of questionable if, well, first of all, when he's going to return, but
Yeah.
second of all, when he does return, is he going to be 100%? Like, it's a pretty significant injury there. So, not really sure. We've seen the emergence of like other young guys like Dennis Jenkins, Asar Thompson become a lot better on defense. I think he just won like Defensive Player of the Month for the Eastern Conference. So, obviously, Jalen Duren playing well. So I think they have enough tools to get past the first round, hold off whoever the eight seed is that they play. Not sure if they can make a run deep in the playoffs, but I feel like I'm just going to go for the value and take the one seed right now.
Yeah, that's a good pick. They're like you said, they're the one seed and they're taking this late in the draft. Like you probably never see that in the last couple of years, but just extenuating circumstances, unfortunately, with this team.
Mhm.
Same thing, almost similar to like your pick, with going with a team with an injured star. This team actually with two injured stars. Some bad news coming out yesterday, but I'm gonna take the Los Angeles Lakers. For all we know, we might be seeing a starting lineup with LeBron and LeBron James Jr. soon enough in the playoffs. At this rate, with the way their injuries are going, we might see that soon enough. But obviously, in that game against the Thunder, not great in terms of the standings, and not great from the health perspective for the Lakers because Luka Doncic going down with that hamstring injury, and he's going to be reevaluated in a couple weeks. And then Austin Reeves having an injury too. I think it was a back or an oblique injury that they said for him. So he's going to be out too with a sprain or with a strain there. So it's just a team that you can't really be relying on 41-year-old LeBron to be carrying you. Not definitely not for a playoff entirety of a playoffs, let alone a playoff series or even a couple games. Just at this age, like he's not able to do that anymore. Maybe he can give you one or two good games in a series, but you still really need Luka Doncic as a number one player to help you if you want to go anywhere in the playoffs. I mean, if they can't get him back by the first round, like they almost have no chance in the first round. Right now, they would be set to play the Timberwolves if the postseason started today. I mean, I'm picking the Timberwolves. That happens. I think a lot of people pick the Timberwolves. We saw what happened last year, even with a healthy Luka. Obviously, not as integrated into the team as he is this year. But I guess you have to see maybe can LeBron turn back the clock one time and get you a couple playoff games or something like that until, or at least like keep it an even series until Luka or Austin Reeves can return to end the series, and then maybe make it to the second round where they'll probably lose to the Spurs or OKC, depending on who gets that two seed. But yeah, just like on the just taking the Lakers out of respect for like one of the all-time greats and just seeing like maybe could he do something, but I doubt it.
I mean, prove us wrong, LeBron.
Yeah,
Turn back the clock, make a
please,
run.
we'd all love to see that. So
Love to
definitely,
see it.
we'd all love to see that.
It's gonna be like another 2018 run with a bunch of
Hmm.
bums, except for his son. But, I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens there. Pretty much just like Lakers fans went from being on like a high, they're on fire just to like the bottom of the earth.
Yeah.
And now for my last pick for our final two picks of the draft, I'm just gonna take the Atlanta Hawks. I feel like, you know, a lot of Hawks fans are probably wondering why they're even the five seed in the first place, but they got a young team, Jalen Johnson. They got Shea's cousin, Nikhil Alexander Walker. Got some pieces there to maybe steal a game or two from their first round matchup, but probably not going to do anything significant against whoever they play.
Yeah. And then with my last pick and the last pick overall in the draft, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, I mean, after what we saw last season and like the seasons previously, like I don't think I'm ever gonna pick a James Harden led or a James Harden integrated team in the playoffs ever again. Like we just saw how badly that ended up with that terrible Game 7 against the Nuggets last year, and which was a pretty good series before. He did play like pretty well there up until Game 6, and then typical Game 7, he just puts up an absolute terrible performance. We'll see. I mean, maybe. I mean, Donovan Mitchell has definitely been proven to be a playoff riser too. One of the young guys in the one of the young guys in the league that's consistently doing that. And they've been pretty good like recently, especially after the trade, like 7-3 in their last 10 games. But it's just I don't see anything happening from them in the playoffs. We'll see. Maybe they even lose to the Hawks in that first round. So we'll see what happens with them. But yeah, so that's the end of our draft. So that's the top 12 teams or the top six seeds in each conference. So let us know in the comments what you guys thought about the draft. Did you think like we took any teams too low, or if there's any other teams you think, maybe any play-in teams that you think would even have a better shot? Let us know in the comment section.
Okay, so let's continue our NBA talk for the week, and we're going to talk about the recent NBA expansion approval that the league voted on about 2 weeks ago. So it's not officially confirmed that we're going to have two expansion teams, but per Adam Silver, the current status is that quote unquote like approval has been given for exploration of expansion, and that the expansion would be in Seattle and Las Vegas. So potentially we would see two teams joining the Western Conference, and then one would have to move to the East. We'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, so nothing's confirmed yet, but right now the process, like the part of the process that we're in is finding buyers for these new two teams. So obviously in Las Vegas and Seattle, those are two of the bigger markets in sports, so you're not really gonna have a problem finding ownership.
Mhm.
But one potential hurdle could be the owners have to decide if they're willing to get less of the media revenue because now instead of getting 1/30th of the profits, they get 1/32nd. So a lot of pros and cons, cost benefit analysis to be done here. What are your thoughts on the expansion exploration approval?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it, part of it, like I do hear some people saying like maybe we shouldn't be expanding because we already see a lot of these games right now with the current teams already like a lot of blowouts and things like that, a lot of tanking teams. So maybe you think like the talent's not too good on there. Um, I would err on the side of I think it is good to expand. I think the league does have enough talent, just like whether some players have been forced to go overseas or things like that, just because they can't get like contracts here, or like some players are just riding the bench on like certain teams. and we only see like towards the end of the season some of these guys will start like showing out. But I think the league has enough talent for the expansion, and I would like to see it. I think I would most definitely want to see it for Seattle, because that's a really great basketball city, and I would love to see the Supersonics back there. And one thing I do remember thinking about this was probably like a year or two ago when they started potentially like talking about exploring this, and how like the NBA really didn't have like too many rivalries and stuff. And this is before some of the recent things have started. Like I think OKC and the Spurs have started a little bit of a rivalry, like just this season. Minnesota and Denver, they've started a little bit of a rivalry because of the playoffs. Even Lakers and Nuggets. But I think one of the easiest ways to infuse a real rivalry back into the NBA is the most obvious one. Once if this expansion comes through, is just Sonics versus Thunder, like a team that literally stole your team from our city and everything. Obviously, in the first couple years, it might not be good because like the Sonics are just gonna be an expansion team, a lot of like bad players and things like that. And OKC we're seeing could potentially be in the middle of a dynasty, so maybe not right now, but just like in the next couple years, we could see that become something. Um, so I think like we do have enough talent to see it, and I would like to see it potentially. What are your thoughts? I want to get your thoughts on this. We've heard a lot from LeBron and like Clutch Sports and that whole camp about like they want to be part of this Vegas group. They want to be part of the Vegas group that's buying into the expansion, for the Vegas franchise. But like you mentioned before, it's a costly fee just to even enter into the space for like buying a potential team. And as rich as LeBron is for like any athlete in like the world, almost like that's still like he still needs more capital than just himself. He's gonna need like a lot more than just like Clutch Sports itself. So, what do you think about seeing LeBron potentially moving into like that owner role or like somewhat of an ownership position within like the Vegas franchise?
Yeah, man, I think he's even like talked about it in the past. There's like the potential of like being an NBA owner one day rather than like being a coach, kind of just like sitting back. I think yeah, there's the potential for him to be an owner. It'd be kind of funny with like the timeline of things where uh either this year or next year he's probably going to retire in one of those seasons. And I think Adam Silver said that the ideal timeline for expansion would be to have the team starting in 28, 29. So that actually lines up perfectly for in terms of LeBron's retirement and then pursuing ownership. But definitely be interesting. I mean, saw people saying like hopefully it doesn't go like Jordan's ownership experience with the
Yeah.
Hornets. Maybe some players shouldn't be owners, but I don't know. He's always been memed as like the GM. Let's see if it translates to his ownership skills.
Yeah.
But I think could be interesting. And then another point about the expansion in terms of like the fees and the nitty-gritty details. One benefit that current owners would see is that so I think like it's estimated that the buy-in fee for a new team would be roughly like $7 to $10 billion, and each current owner would pocket that fee like split equally. So each team would see roughly, I think like 400 to $600 million pocketed to the owners. So maybe that could offset the potential money lost from the media revenue being split across more teams. But yeah, I think I also agree about like in terms of the talent in the league. I feel like sometimes a lot of times you see players force overseas, or we see like young guys like buried deep into rosters. So we could see uh the opportunity for more guys to shine. So I'd definitely be for that. And speaking of like rivalries and all, this could also be an opportunity for the NBA to, because as we said, so these two teams would join the Western Conference and one team would relocate to the East. Apparently, like the three teams that are most likely to move east would be the Minnesota Timberwolves, New Orleans Pelicans, and the Memphis Grizzlies. Just makes sense for the most eastward teams out of the Western Conference. I think it should be the Timberwolves. They're already geographically located near a lot of teams like the Pistons, the Cavs. So geographically it makes sense. But what do you think about the potential of so now that you'd have 16 teams in each conference, you could maybe follow like an NFL style where maybe reorganize some of the divisions and start
Mm,
back some division rivalries because I feel like that's the one thing that the NBA misses right now is there really aren't that many. It's a lot of like player to player rivals, like LeBron and
mm.
Curry in the past, maybe Wemby and Jokic right now, but no real like even like Lakers Celtics, that rivalry as historic as it was, it's kind of like faded a bit. So what do you think about the potential of maybe reorganizing the divisions a bit, maybe adding incentives for winning divisions? What do you think about the prospects there?
So, before I touch on that, the last thing you mentioned with the conferences and how we have to readjust some of the teams, I think one of the things, a big benefit of moving the Timberwolves to the Eastern Conference is helping to reset the balance of like the conferences. We're seeing the West like it's getting too stacked in terms of like we're having a lot of good teams and good players. All the draft best drafted players are going there too. So it'd be very helpful to have a team with an obvious superstar on them and a strong playoff team, the Minnesota Timberwolves, moving them east, helping reshift some of that balance. Obviously, putting two worst teams is going to help the bounce overall too, but just getting a good contender on the East is going to help. And then so what you were talking about with the difference in the playoff seeding and structures and things like that. I mean, I think that's like you said, the NFL has really emphasized win your division, focus on winning your division, and then you will be rewarded in the playoffs. And we see that every year. Like all this, the top four or these four division winners in each conference are getting a guaranteed home playoff game every year, which is like really good. Home field advantage, you're getting extra revenue for a playoff game and everything like that. So all that stuff is helpful. And I think I know so like the NBA used to have a thing where the division winners would be getting top seeds in their each conference. So this was like if I'm remembering correctly, it was like roughly until like 20 like 14 or 15 something like that around that season. That's when they removed that the division winners won't no longer be guaranteed a top three or top three or four seed in their conference. I think as long as you can restructure the divisions in a way it makes it like more fair, maybe you just want like better teams to be like representing in each division because you don't want it to be like too overpowered or anything like that. But even that's something you might have to sacrifice. Like we see teams like in the NFL, like we see like a 7-9, or I guess at this time would be like an 8-9 team or something like that, get a home playoff game. And like as much as sometimes fans want to push back on that, like they won their division, they won their like most important rivalry games and things like that. So if they could structure it in some way where they can make sure that if they do if there's gonna be 16 teams in each conference, if we do four divisions of four teams each, like the NFL, and then you could say, all right, if you win your division, you're guaranteed a top four seed in the conference, and then that's perfect because that's the same thing. You're guaranteed home court advantage in your first round of the playoffs, similar to how the NFL gets one home playoff game for the division winners. I think that part would be really good. I think you'd still want to keep it to 8 playoff teams per conference. I don't think you'd want to go more than that, and I don't think you want to go less than that either. Obviously, with adding more. Maybe you could think about doing something different with the play-in. Maybe if you wanted to expand to like teams 7 through 12 or something like that. If you wanted a larger play-in, if you feel like there's more teams competitive in each conference, but I guess you might have to play that as a year-by-year thing just to see. Um, but I definitely think, like you mentioned, the first thing, if they can really emphasize winning the division again, that's gonna really strengthen a lot of the potential rivalries that could be there, and it's gonna form a lot of new rivalries. Like I think the biggest one is in the last 2 years we saw the Bucks and the Pacers have two like hard fought playoff matchups, a lot of good regular season games too, and a lot of animosity built up there, and that became a good rivalry for the last years. Obviously, Giannis is potentially leaving this year. The Pacers were down with Tyrese Halliburton now, so that kind of like affected it this year. But we saw that it was a really strong rivalry there, and it's only benefited by the fact that they're both in the same conference, or both in the same division. Now, let's say they're both in the same division, fighting for the top spot in that division, and whoever is the top spot is guaranteed that top four seed in the conference. That makes it even more important. That gives you home court advantage in a potential playoff matchup if you two were to play each other. So I just think you have to find a way to emphasize it, and you almost always have to do it with something related to the playoffs, or if not the playoffs, just something related to, with like money or things like that. But I feel like the best way to do it would be emphasize getting better playoff positioning, things like that, with better seeding with the division. So I think that's one thing you hit spot on the head.
Yeah, I feel like, and even looking from like the league's point of view, like they would draw in so many like more viewers if you have like a rivalry game with like a division lead on the line, stuff like that.
Yeah,
So definitely adds space for a lot of nice narratives for the fans to tune into.
yeah,
One thing that I was thinking about for in terms of like the fan bases of the new teams. So I feel like, I mean, as you said, like Seattle, they had a team for so long. Even today, they have a really passionate NBA fan base. But I am a bit questionable about Las Vegas in terms of how good of a fan base they'd be. Because we've seen with like, for example, the Raiders, when they relocated to Las Vegas. I mean, part of this could be due to their team's lack of success, but we haven't seen a lot of passionate fans. And I was reading that a lot of the fans of the current team were just Raiders fans in the past. But then on the other hand, when they did have an expansion team in like the NHL with the Golden Knights,
mhm.
apparently that's like a really like diehard fan
Yeah.
base.
That's definitely a
So
strong fan base there.
yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I guess uh Las Vegas proved me wrong, but I don't know how passionate or loyal of a fan base they could be, especially given that expansion teams generally start out slow, need a few years to get things organized and going. Can they build that loyalty? We'll see. But that's one question I have. And I guess like one interesting thing I saw, a question for you was someone was saying that like the Supersonics, if they do ultimately form again, would they like reclaim their history or would the Thunder like maintain the Supersonics history? How do you think that should work?
I mean, I'm definitely in favor of that. Sonic's history should be kept in Seattle. So once that team moves back, they should keep that. I when the NBA first did this move from Seattle to OKC, I think what they should have done was do something similar to what the Browns did when they moved originally and they were gone for some time from Cleveland and there was no Cleveland Browns team for a couple of years there. They should have done something similar to that, where they kept the rights of that franchise just like in escrow, so to speak, and just let that be until a team was to move back there. So once a new team comes back there and they're now the Cleveland Browns again, they get to retain all that history in the past. So I don't really think that OKC should be keeping the Sonics history currently anyways. So I'm definitely in favor of once Seattle is back in the mix and they do have a team there, they should most definitely be reclaiming that history. They should be reclaiming that 1979 championship banner and everything like that. Like I don't want to see that hung in OKC's arena. Like that's not a championship that they won in OKC. They have their own championship now, so it's not something to like worry about not having any banners or anything like that. Um, but that's something I would think that they should be able to reclaim and have that. And then going back to what you said about Vegas and the fan base there, so the Golden Knights, the first year they're in the expansion draft. Typically, like in any sport, you see expansion teams, they do really bad, like bottom of the standings, everything like that, and they get the first pick next year. Golden Knights first year in the NHL make the Stanley Cup playoffs. They lose, or make the Stanley Cup finals, not just the playoffs. So they get to the all the way to the Stanley Cup finals. They lose 4-1 to the Capitals in the finals. But that's very easy for a team to be able to, or fans to be able to latch onto, even if it's a new team. All right, they're a winner. That's an easy bandwagon for everyone to support in a new city, the next new expansion team there. So all that being said, for the next couple of years, the Vegas Golden Knights were still really good, and they did have one down year where they didn't even make the playoffs, so they were at risk of like missing the playoffs and lost in the first round one of the years upcoming later. So that's when you started to see, okay, that's a real test of is the fan base going to still be there or not. So for a little bit there, the fan base was dwindling a little bit, and then now you've started to see it come back as they still had like some consistent playoff runs over the last couple of years. But that's something you want to see when you put this team in Vegas. More than likely, they will not be competing for the NBA Finals in year one, and more than likely not in the next like 2 or 3 years are they going to competing for the NBA Finals. But you want to see, all right, if they're making the playoffs, is there at least fans that are supporting them? If they're just barely like getting to the play-in, are they having good regular season games even at the end of the season? Are there still fans supporting them? So I think that's something that you want to, like you mentioned before, that's something that you really have to be worried about with going to Vegas. Is there going to be a strong enough fan base there? So that's something that you definitely want to be concerned with.
Yeah, I think we'll see if Vegas can prove us wrong. But as far as things look, I feel like it might just be a lot of like celebrity tourist fans, not really like actual diehard fans. So
Yeah.
I guess like as far as expansion goes, we'll see what happens right now, looking for owners for the new teams. And I mean, if this expansion works, who knows, we could see more expansion in the future. There have been a lot of other teams or cities that could be potential expansion cities. I remember seeing cities like St. Louis. People have always talked about maybe the Grizzlies could relocate to Nashville. LeBron just talked about that on his golf trip. But
Yeah.
uh, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, places like that, maybe even international. I know like Mexico City's gotten some hype,
Yeah.
another Canada team, but I think we'll see how things go with the expansion. And yeah, that's all for this episode, I think, unless you have anything else to add, Jay.
I think that's it. Next up on the expansion dock is making sure we get that Pittsburgh team. So we're gonna see the Pittsburgh. What are we gonna call the Pittsburgh team? We have to find that out. But I think that's
Yeah,
next up on the docket for Adam Silver.
guess we'll find out. Maybe Pittsburgh one day. Maybe the Pirates could be traded for an NBA team. I don't know. We'll see. But it's gonna wrap up episode 4. And next week or next episode, episode 5, we're gonna go ahead and preview the NFL draft, give you some of our favorite, potential prospects for our teams. Maybe even have a special guest on the pod. First ever guest. Could see how that goes. We'll catch you guys next time and comment any like ideas you want us to talk about.